Okay, so let's start this deep dive with a scenario. And I'm warning you right now, this is going to feel uncomfortably personal.
Oh, I have a feeling I know where this is going.
You probably do. So picture this. It is 7:12 a.m. You're in bed. You are warm. The duvet is just, heavy and perfect.
Best part of the day, honestly.
Literally the best. You haven't brushed your teeth. You haven't spoken to your partner. You haven't even had a sip of water yet. Your eyes are pretty much still crusted shut.
Right.
But your hand has a mind of its own. It just snakes out from under the covers, grabs the cold metal of the phone on the nightstand, and boom.
The blue light hits the retina. It is the modern wake-up call.
Exactly. And before your conscious brain has even booted up, before you even know what day of the week it is, you're staring at a banner notification.
Right.
It says urgent news or market crash or global crisis. And suddenly, you are lying perfectly still in this cozy, warm bed, but your heart rate is doing like 100 beats per minute.
You're in a fist fight, biologically speaking.
Yes. You are in a fist fight with the world, and you haven't even had coffee.
It's what the source material we're looking at today calls the morning trap. We are effectively dosing ourselves with cortisol before we've even swung our legs out of bed.
And that is exactly where we are starting today, because we've got a really fascinating stack of articles, some heavy research on attention spans, and surprisingly enough, some ancient philosophy that all argue we've fallen into a massive trap.
A trap that we actively plug in next to our pillows every night.
Right. But more importantly, we're looking at how to actually get out of it. And the solution comes from a place that I honestly did not expect when we first started putting the sources together for this topic.
Yeah, we aren't looking at some, digital detox guide from a Silicon Valley tech guru who lives on an off-grid alpaca farm or something.
No alpaca farms today.
We are looking at Stoic philosophy. We're talking Epictetus, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. These are guys who lived literally 2,000 years before the iPhone.
Which is wild to think about.
It is. But somehow, they managed to predict the exact psychological mess of the modern social media timeline.
It's actually uncanny how applicable their stuff is. So, the mission for this deep dive is pretty simple, really. We're going to figure out why we react so fast to bad news, why it leaves us feeling so totally drained by 9 a.m., and how to use these ancient tools to reclaim our mind.
Reclaim our minds, but not in a
throw your phone in the ocean way.
Right. In a practical, I still have to live and work in the modern world way.
Which is the only way that matters. Because the core question the source material asks is actually really uncomfortable. It asks, is the news happening out there in the world, or is it happening inside you?
And that distinction is everything.
It tripped me up at first, I'll admit, because obviously the event is out there. If the stock market crashes or a controversial law gets passed, that is an external reality. It's a verified fact.
True, the event itself is external. But the disturbance. Right, the panic, the anger, that sinking feeling that your whole day is ruined before it even started, that is strictly internal. That's happening entirely inside your own nervous system.
And that's the piece we can actually hack.
Exactly.
So let's get into the actual mechanics of this disturbance, because the sources describe something called the mechanism of reaction. And it honestly explains why I can go from 0 to absolutely enraged in the span of reading a 3-second headline.
Oh, we all do it.
I always thought it was because I just really cared about the news, but the research suggests it's actually just biology, right?
It is biology, but it is deeply manipulated biology. And here's the kicker. You aren't actually reacting to the content first. You're reacting to the rhythm.
The rhythm? What do you mean by the rhythm?
Think about how you scroll a feed. Just physically. It's fast. Flick, flick, stop. Flick, flick, stop.
Oh yeah, mindless scrolling.
Exactly. You see a headline, you haven't read the article. You haven't vetted the source to see if it's reliable. You certainly haven't analyzed the nuance of the geopolitical situation it's describing.
Definitely not.
But the emotion, that is instantaneous.
Oh, absolutely. I've definitely felt my blood pressure spike from a headline that when I actually clicked it later, assuming I even bothered to click it, had nothing to do with what I thought it said. But in that split second, I was ready to go to war in the comments.
That is entirely by design. The source material points out that modern headlines are engineered signals. They aren't just summaries of facts anymore.
Right, they're triggers.
Precisely. And they usually fall into 3 distinct buckets: danger, outrage, or curiosity. They are short, they are strong, and they are shocking. They're explicitly designed to bypass your frontal cortex.
Which is the rational thinking part of your brain.
Right, it bypasses that entirely and goes straight to the amygdala.
The lizard brain.
The lizard brain, the alarm bell.
So it's basically a hijack.
It's a complete neurological hijack. If the signal is danger, you immediately feel anxiety. If it's outrage, you feel hot anger. And this happens in milliseconds. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, actually wrote about this exact phenomenon.
2,000 years ago.
Yes. He called them first movements.
First movements. I really like that term. What exactly did he mean by it?
He described them as the initial involuntary physical reaction to a stimulus. So things like shivering when a cold breeze hits you, or blinking at a bright flash of light.
Just raw reflexes.
Exactly. Or that sudden flush of heat in your face when you feel insulted. Seneca argued that these aren't actually emotions yet. They're just reflexes. The problem isn't that you can't stop a reflex.
Right.
The problem is that we mistake those reflexes for the truth.
Okay, wow. That is a huge distinction. So that initial flush of anger I feel when I see a controversial post, that's not me having a considered intellectual opinion on the matter. That's just a biological reflex.
Exactly, it's biological noise.
Yeah.
But because of the sheer speed of social media, we ride that reflex straight into the comments section. We skip the thinking part entirely.
We let the reflex drive the car.
Yes. And the source calls this specific phenomena the 0-second gap.
The 0-second gap. That sounds genuinely terrifying when you put it that way.
It is terrifying.
Yeah.
It means the time elapsed between the stimulus, the headline, and your response. Your public rage is effectively zero.
Wow.
And if that gap is zero, you aren't an active participant in the world. You're a puppet. You are literally being dragged around by anyone who knows how to write a scary or infuriating headline.
You know, this explains that very specific type of exhaustion I feel after just 20 minutes on social media. It's not just eye strain, it's this massive internal conflict.
How do you mean?
Well, one part of me is screaming, this is too much information, make it stop. But the other part is terrified to look away because I feel like I need to know.
That is the modern condition perfectly summarized right there. We are wildly overstimulated, but severely underinformed. And that actually leads us right into the social element of this whole trap.
Right, the speed trap, because it's not just our internal biology working against us, it's the external incentive structure of the internet itself.
Yes. The sources make a really cynical, but I think completely accurate point here regarding social pressure. Who actually wins on social media today?
Right, think about it. Is it the person who takes 3 days to read a 40-page policy report, thinks about it critically, sleeps on it, and then finally posts a nuanced, moderate paragraph?
That person is invisible. The person literally does not exist to the algorithm.
Exactly. That guy gets 2 likes, and one of them is from his mom. The winner in this ecosystem is the person who reacts in 30 seconds with the absolute hottest, loudest, most extreme take.
The system actively rewards speed over accuracy. And because we are inherently social creatures, this creates an immense psychological pressure on all of us. The source calls it the fear of silence.
Oh, I feel this one so deeply. If something big happens, a natural disaster, a political scandal, and you don't post about it immediately, you feel guilty, like you're somehow falling behind.
It's worse than falling behind, really.
Yeah.
In today's climate, silence is frequently interpreted as apathy, or even worse, complicity.
Right, the idea that silence is violence.
Exactly. If you aren't publicly screaming about the issue of the day, the immediate assumption is that you just don't care.
Which is completely crazy because usually the people screaming the loudest online know the absolute least about what's actually happening. The facts haven't even come out yet.
Precisely. There was this great example in the text about a recent viral video controversy.
Oh, right. Walk us through that one.
So, a short clip drops online. Within 2 hours, literally 2 hours, the entire internet has split into 2 fiercely warring camps.
Total polarization.
Total. People are destroying real-life friendships, blocking family members, posting these massive, definitive statements of morality.
Based on a 20-second clip.
Right. And that...
24 hours later, the full unedited video comes out.
Exactly. The context changes entirely. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like at all. Maybe the person being viciously attacked online was actually the victim in the broader context.
But here is the real tragedy of that situation.
What's that?
It doesn't matter that the truth came out. The damage to your own mind is already done. You just spent 4 hours bathing your brain in cortisol and hate and righteous indignation. You can't get that time or that energy back.
You really can't. It's like we are constantly reacting to a weaponized, stripped-down simulation of reality rather than reality itself.
We absolutely are.
And think about Marcus Aurelius for a second. He was the literal emperor of Rome. He had people whispering in his ear all day long.
The ultimate feed.
Right. Rumors, assassination plots, news from the front lines, political backstabbing. He had to constantly pause and remind himself, does this harm my character?
He had to filter it.
Yes. He knew that public opinion was just a shifting wind. But today, we don't just have whispers in the form. We have a digital megaphone taped to our ear 24/7.
And we're being trained to outsource our critical thinking to the collective reaction of the mob.
Exactly.
That is a really heavy concept, outsourcing your thinking. And it actually segues perfectly into the next big idea from the sources, which they call the existential drop.
Ah, yes. This is a crucial concept.
It's the idea that this kind of relentless news consumption isn't just a bad habit, it's actually rewriting our core identity.
This is where the rubber really meets the road. Because we tend to think that news just passes through us, like water passing through a pipe. We read it, we react, we close the app, and it's gone.
But the Stoics, and frankly modern cognitive psychologists would say no, it leaves a residue.
Like plaque building up in your arteries, but for your personality.
That is a gross but perfect analogy.
It works. The source gives this really striking example. Consider someone living in a very safe, quiet suburb. Low crime rate, they have a stable job, their family is healthy.
Objectively, a very good life.
Yes. But this person spends 3 hours every single day doom scrolling about violent crime in other cities, global economic collapse, and vicious political warfare.
I feel like we all know this exact person.
We do.
They are constantly on edge, they lock their deadbolts in the middle of the day, they treat their friendly neighbors like potential suspects.
Right. Their physical, tangible reality is safe. But their internal reality, the actual world they inhabit mentally every minute of the day, is a literal war zone.
They are living in a simulation of danger constructed entirely by their media diet.
It's profound.
It is. It's actually really sad when you think about it. It means you're entirely missing your own real life because you're busy hallucinating a nightmare.
Epictetus had a brilliant quote on this. He was a Stoic teacher who was actually born a slave, so he knew a thing or two about dealing with a lack of external control.
What did he say?
He said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts."
Dyed with the color of its thoughts. That is beautiful, but also quite scary.
Think about it visually. If you take a piece of pure white wool and you dip it into a vat of purple dye every single day, eventually that wool is just going to be permanently purple.
You can't just wash it out with water.
Exactly. If you plunge your mind into outrage, conflict, and disaster every single morning before you even get out of bed, your personality is going to take on that exact color.
You become anxious. You become cynical.
Not because your actual day-to-day life is bad, but simply because your daily inputs are toxic.
It's a fundamental loss of autonomy. We walk around thinking we're just staying informed, but really we're just letting an algorithm paint our personalities purple.
Exactly.
So let's pivot to the solution, because as much as I'd love to, we can't just move to a cave in the woods. I need my phone for my job. I need to know if, like, a hurricane is heading toward my house.
Right, and to be clear, Stoicism isn't about hiding from the world. Like we said, Marcus Aurelius ran an empire. He led armies. He didn't hide under his bed.
The solution isn't ignorance.
No, the solution is what the source material calls the Stoic pause.
Okay, I really want to walk through this practically. Let's use a real-world scenario from the text so we can see exactly how this works in real time. The layoff scenario.
Okay, let's do it.
So it's 8:40 a.m. I'm sitting at my desk, drinking my coffee. A notification pops up on my screen. Tech giant cuts 10,000 jobs.
Okay, let's play this out. Path 1 is the default. The reactive path. You see the headline. What happens?
Immediate visceral panic. I instantly think the entire economy is tanking. My company is definitely next. I have a huge mortgage. I need to sell all my stocks right now. I'm going to be completely destitute.
Right. Notice what just happened. You've gone from a simple news headline about a company you don't even work for to living in a cardboard box in about 3 seconds.
Zero gap.
Zero gap.
Yeah.
You've completely catastrophized the situation before you've even finished reading the subheading of the article.
It is very efficient panic, I'll give it that.
Oh, the brain is great at that. Now, let's look at the Stoic path. And again, this isn't about sitting down on a cushion and meditating for 20 minutes. You don't have time for that at 8:40 a.m.
Right, I'm at my desk.
It's a mental micro-habit. It starts with asking yourself one single question, which is arguably the most famous concept in all of Stoicism. Is this under my control?
The dichotomy of control.
Exactly. Look at that headline again. Is the global macroeconomic environment under your direct control?
Definitely no.
Is the internal hiring and firing decision of a CEO at a massive tech conglomerate that you don't work for under your control?
No.
Okay. So mentally spiraling about that specific fact is a complete waste of your resources.
Right.
It's burning precious cognitive energy on a variable you cannot possibly touch.
Right.
But what is under your control in that exact moment?
Well, my own work output for the day, my personal savings account.
Yes, your personal spending habits this month. The quality of the presentation you have to give to your boss at 10 a.m. Maybe quietly updating your resume this weekend. Just be safe.
So the pause basically acts as a filter.
Exactly. It catches the junk, the external uncontrollable panic, and it only lets through the actionable, useful stuff.
It sounds so simple when we talk about it logically, but in the heat of the moment, that is really hard to do. My brain instinctively wants to panic. It almost feels safer to panic in a weird, twisted way.
What do you mean?
Like if I worry enough about the layoffs, I can somehow magically stop the bad thing from happening to me.
Oh, that is a very classic cognitive distortion.
Yeah.
Your brain is confusing the act of worrying with the act of problem solving.
They do feel very similar in the body.
They feel similar, but one is useful and one is entirely useless. There's actually another layer to this pause, though, involving a core concept that Epictetus called fantasia.
Fantasia. Okay, sounds like a classic Disney movie, but I'm guessing it's a bit less magical in this context.
A little less, yeah. Fantasia roughly translates from Greek to impressions. It's that very first raw image or feeling that pops into your mind when something happens.
Okay.
Epictetus taught his students that this first impression is merely a suggestion from your brain. It is not the objective truth.
A suggestion. I like that.
The fundamental Stoic discipline is to learn how to separate the event itself from the judgment you layer on top of it.
Okay, break that down for me with the layoff example.
Sure. The event is simply this. Pixels on a digital screen formed words stating that a certain number of jobs were eliminated. That is objective reality. It is morally neutral. It's just raw data in the universe.
Okay, and the judgment?
The judgment is, this is a global disaster, the sky is falling, and my family is doomed.
Yeah.
That is a subjective story that you added to the data. That is a narrative overlay. The Stoic approach is to aggressively strip that judgment away. You look at the bare, unadorned fact. Jobs were cut at Company X.
Okay.
And then you calmly ask, now what do I actually do with this information?
Wow, it completely takes the emotional charge out of the moment. It's almost like diffusing a bomb. You're just snipping the wire between the neutral fact and the emotional explosion.
Ideally, yes, that's exactly what you're doing. Seneca famously described anger and panic as a form of temporary madness.
Temporary madness.
Yes, and that pause, that deliberate separation of the event from the judgment, is the gatekeeper. It is the only thing keeping that madness from reaching the fortress of your mind.
I really love that fortress imagery, but I have to play devil's advocate here for a second because I can already hear the listeners thinking this.
Go for it.
Is this whole approach just like cold?
Ah, yes.
Yes.
It is the single most common objection to Stoicism. You guys are just unfeeling robots.
Right, because if I'm looking at news of a brutal war or a terrible famine or a global pandemic, and I'm just sitting at my desk doing my little mental filtering and staying perfectly calm, am I a sociopath? Am I just indifferent to human suffering?
This is a crucial distinction to make. Stoicism is not apathy.
Okay.
Apathy is not caring about the world.
Oh.
Stoicism is about not being incapacitated by your caring.
Oh, that's a really good soundbite. Not incapacitated by your caring.
Think about a trauma surgeon in an emergency room.
Okay.
If you are on the operating table and you are bleeding out, do you want a surgeon who is feeling every ounce of your pain, who's weeping over your wounds, who's shaking with anxiety because he deeply understands how tragic your potential death would be for your family?
God, no. I want him rock steady. I want him absolutely ice cold.
Exactly. You want him incredibly focused. And that isn't because the surgeon doesn't care whether you live or die. It's precisely because he cares enough to prioritize his competence over his own emotional release.
He's putting all of his energy into the knife.
Yes. He cannot afford the luxury of panic. That is the true Stoic stance.
The sources actually use the recent pandemic as a really grounded example of this, right?
They do, and it's a perfect modern test case. Think back to the early days of 2020. We saw two very distinct public reactions.
Oh yeah, we did.
Reaction A is pure panic. hoarding mountains of toilet paper, doom scrolling on Twitter until 3 a.m. every night, spreading unverified rumors on family WhatsApp groups, just constantly vibrating with raw anxiety.
Which is very high emotion. It shows that they care, right?
It's high emotion, yes.
Yeah.
But was it actually useful? Did that panic help a single person?
No, it definitely didn't. It actually made things significantly worse. It created supply chain shortages and massive collective stress.
Exactly. Now look at reaction B, which is the Stoic reaction. This person clearly acknowledges the danger of the virus. They do not deny reality or pretend everything is fine.
Right.
But instead of panicking, they focus entirely on correct action. They follow the health guidelines. They check in on their elderly neighbors to see if they need groceries. They maintain a strict daily routine for their kids so the house doesn't feel like a terrifying prison.
So the panic reaction is basically, I feel terrible, and so I'm going to flail around wildly.
Yes.
And the Stoic reaction is, I feel the immense weight of this situation, but I am going to focus solely on doing what actually helps.
Precisely. It is action over anxiety. The source material puts it beautifully, I think. It says, Stoicism is about focusing your limited energy on what can actually be improved.
Yeah.
How you treat your family today, your honesty in your work, your direct contribution to your local community, rather than wasting all that energy screaming into the void at global events you cannot possibly change.
It's about caring effectively.
Caring effectively, that's exactly it.
Caring effectively. You know, I think that changes the whole framing of this issue for me. It stops being about, oh, I need to ignore the news so I don't feel sad. And it starts being about, I need to aggressively conserve my energy for the places where it actually matters.
And that profound shift leads us to the final, really big takeaway from this deep dive. It is a total reframe of our fundamental relationship with information.
Let's hear it.
We need to fundamentally move from being passive consumers of news to being masters of it.
Masters sounds a little bit intense, but go on.
Well, just think about the current dynamic. Right now, most of us are incredibly passive.
Yeah.
We are just empty buckets waiting to be filled. The phone buzzes, we blindly open it up, and we just let the entire world pour whatever it wants straight into our brains.
Yeah, we have no defenses up.
None. The Force argues that, instead, every piece of news should be viewed as a test.
A test of what? Our political knowledge.
No, a test of your character. A test of your internal discipline.
Yeah.
Look, the world out there will always be chaotic. That is just the baseline nature of human history.
Very true.
You cannot control the endless flow of breaking news. You cannot stop the foreign wars or dictate the financial markets, but you have absolute control over your stance before them. You are the ultimate gatekeeper of your own mind.
So basically, every single time I get a push notification, it's the universe knocking on my door asking, hey, are you going to lose your cool over this? Or are you going to handle it like an adult?
That is exactly what it is. And look, this isn't just high-level abstract philosophy. It's a very practical daily challenge. In fact, the source material leaves us with something it calls the morning challenge.
Oh, I like a challenge.
I really want the listeners to try this specific exercise tomorrow morning.
I am definitely going to try it. Lay it on me. What do we do?
Okay, it is very simple. Tomorrow morning, that exact scenario we talked about at the beginning will happen.
7:12 a.m.
7:12 a.m. You'll be in bed. The phone on the nightstand will light up. You'll see the banner, urgent news.
And my thumb will twitch.
The reflex will kick in. But here is the challenge. Stop, just for 3 seconds.
Just pause.
Just pause. Do not touch the screen. And ask yourself this one single question before you decide to cap it. Will I let this random notification decide my state of mind for the next hour? Or will I consciously decide how I choose to look at it?
Wow, that split second, that tiny little gap, that is the whole game, isn't it?
That is where your freedom lives. Right there in the space between the notification and your reaction. If you can learn to widen that gap, even just a tiny little bit each day, you stop being a helpless consumer of trauma.
And you start being the owner of your own mind.
Exactly.
And honestly, just looking at the general state of the world right now, I think we desperately need more people who actually own their own minds.
Absolutely.
We need a lot more steady trauma surgeons and a lot fewer panicked bystanders flailing around in the emergency room.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, that is certainly a lot to chew on, but I have to say, I actually feel a lot better about my morning alarm already. Thank you so much for unpacking all of this with me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. It's a crucial topic.
And to everyone listening out there, good luck tomorrow morning. Find that pause, defend your fortress. We will see you